All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to The Journey, where we deep dive all things real estate and investing. We pick the brains of market leaders in their field so that we can fast forward you from where you are to where you want to be using their knowledge and experience. My name is Austin Mitchell, and with me today is Kaleo Kina. And I'm super excited today about this episode because I actually had the honor to be a part of this team for a very short stint. It was brief, but while I was here, honestly, it was nothing short of amazing. The systems, the consistency that this team has is really something to admire and respect. And so I'm super excited to be here to chat with Kaleo because he's probably one of the most well-known agents in the area, Hampton Roads area. I have not come across a single person that has not known Kaleo, either giving me the referral, not knowing that I already knew him, or like just in conversation come up. So super excited here. Kaleo, if you don't know, he was 2021 number one small team in HRRA, so HRRA,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That was with the Cova collective Realty team. So that is his team that he's created. And they're absolutely crushing it. He is the 2021 CEO team leader of Keller Williams Elite 757. And in 2020, he was Hampton Roads Real Producer Rising Star for an individual agent. So as far as real estate, top notch. He was also 8 years in the Navy. He was surface warfare officer. And he's got his own investments well worth over $1 million. And so he's in this game as well, not only as an agent, but a business leader and also an investor. So a wealth of knowledge here. And he does all that with his wife of 7 years, and he's got 3 kids, all under 5 and 1 on the way. So the house is packed, and this man stays busy 24/7. So much respect there. And what the big topics we're going to talk about today are going to be mainly relationships, education, and execution. So again, Kaleo is extremely well known in this area. He's extremely consistent with the social media, his presence, his connections, just the way he talks to people, and we really want to dive into that. And so outside of, his military background, but like he's built a business from the ground up as well. So we're going to dive into that because I think that is a strength that he has that we could speak on. And so Kaleo, if you wouldn't mind, just give me a quick background, man. How did you get into real estate? How did you get into investing all the way up to where we are today?
No, absolutely. Well, thank you for that nice intro, right? I don't know if everybody thinks that, but I'm humble that you think that, so I appreciate that. But real estate has truly been a life changer. And so I say I don't know that anybody raises their hand in kindergarten and says, I want to be a real estate agent. And so I had the privilege of serving in the Navy, which our area is a heavy military area, right? So I did all 8 years of active duty locally. And so I had the pleasure of serving. When I got out in 2017, I did everything you wasn't supposed to do, right? I was married, I bought a house, bought a car, had a baby, and got out the Navy, right? There goes all my benefits, right? And so at the time, I really was looking at opportunity. I didn't know what that meant. And at the time, it was going to Regent University to work on a master's degree, right? Not because I wanted to go back to school, but they would pay me to do it because of the GI Bill, right? But in that tenure of going to school, I met a friend that I had been close with. I've been training their son in basketball for a while. Had mentioned like, hey, you should go to real estate school. And so a spark conversation randomly over Filipino food off of Lynn Haven, right? I decided to sign up for real estate school, and that started my journey. And so I started at Fit Realty. Was a great foundational place to be for me at the time. In 2017, as I grew, I took the opportunity to join Keller Williams in 2019. And there, I believe I grew a better business understanding instead of just the retail, producing agent side. And so it's been a hell of a ride. Gary Keller is a mentor of our company, but he says people often overestimate where they can be in 1 year and underestimate where they can be in 5. And so I started the business in June of 2017. It has been 5 years and some change in 2022. And I've been privileged and honored to now have Cova Collective Realty. We do about $83 million. We're on pace for $70 million this year in a down market, but we're managing the shift. I'm a majority partner of Keller Williams Elite 757. I own 3 investment properties, all locally, not including the primary. And I'm recently have been really starting like an additional journey in real estate, which has really been wealth building. Right. And so that's kind of the background. And along that way, my beautiful wife has supported me. She's the real queen of this. And so as long as she holds me down, I'm able to go try to provide. So I'm super excited to share some of that story. And that's the background.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love that, man. And congrats on your 5 years. That's a big deal. No easy feat. A lot of businesses go out before that. And so if we can dive into the relationship. So again, something unique about you that I think I just see you everywhere and everybody knows you. So is that always been your personality type, or is this something you actively invest effort in trying to stay top of mind and create a following? Is that something?
That's an interesting question, right? And so I shared with you like my 3 tenets: relationships, education, and execution. But relationships is the foundation. I believe some of it was natural in the sense that like I grew up in a family. I was the oldest of 4. It was really like 8. I grew up with multiple stepdads, right? So as my mother fell in love and out of love multiple times, right? I was there with my mom holding it down, but I grew up in different family constructs, right? So I think naturally I learned to adapt and adjust. Then I believe the Naval Academy and the Navy had a big part of my relationship development, right? As an officer in the Navy, not only was I now put in charge of divisions and departments of young kids joining the service while still being a kid, but I also then partnered with senior chiefs who were 20 years my senior and had to put forth a leadership effort that they would respect as well. And so I think I learned a lot about who I was and how to lead and manage people. And I believe that those were the true foundations of transitioning to the civilian world is what we call it. But into real estate, and then understanding the value of people and then kind of maximizing or capitalizing on that. But I really believe that the true power is in people and your relationships. And if you have a reputation of giving, right, then you will always be receiving. And so I do believe that, you know, if there's one thing people say, oh, what can I do? Like, invest in people. It's the best investment you can ever get.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can transition and take that anywhere in whatever business you're doing. If you have a group of people that support you and support what you're about, then they'll follow you anywhere. I think that's amazing. So, okay, so you got the leadership skills from the military, and then moving out. At what point when you were at Keller Williams were you like, it's time for me to branch out and do my own thing? And so where was that seed planted, and then how did you ultimately start Cova Collective?
Yeah, so another great question. When I was at Fit Realty, like I got into production, right? And so what does that mean? My first 6 months, I sold 3 homes. My next 12 months, 2018, I sold 24. 21 were what we would call sphere of influence, or SOI. So people that I already knew, and 3 were from the company. It was at that point I had reached out to leadership and just indicated like, hey, I would like more opportunity. I didn't know what that meant at the time, and the opportunity they could afford me was more leads. Unfortunately, that's not what I needed, right? I wanted to know how to learn business. Like, what is real estate? Why do we have affiliates or ancillaries? Like, what does that mean, right? And so in my journey of searching like what would be a potential fit for me, I came across Keller Williams Elite 757. And they're the operating principal, so it's like one of my first people, was Keith Hinton, right? And so he's been in the game for a long time. I think 2003. He had owned a couple brokerages, and so he immediately took me under his wing as kind of a mentor. And so that's when I really started learning business at a higher level. I went from saying, how many homes did I sell and how much GCI did I make, to how is my profit and loss, what is my cost of sale versus the expenses, what's my monthly burn rate, and how that really translates to true profit and not just getting $1 to make $1, right? And so I think that what school teaches us and life expects us to know is completely 2 different things, right? And so it's super important that you expose yourself to the people that, to what I call, are proof of concepts. They've done it or they're already doing it at a high level. How can you bring value to them so that you can then learn, right, from them? And that's kind of how I started to think bigger. We all have backgrounds. I say everybody has a story, right? And so typically what I see in agents and myself at the time, bigger to me was, hey, I want to make 6 figures. Like, that's the goal, right? Everybody says that, right? And what I learned along the way is that as I put myself in circles that were more successful, or whatever we want to deem that to be, but were more productive in the real estate arena, I found that I was thinking very little of myself and my capabilities. And so I started to expand and grow that. And then I consistently looked for the next person I can bring value to that then can bring value to me to continue to lift me up. And so people have been very important. And so I grew my own business. Initially partnered with a person who I think is super highly talented, still a close friend of mine, Richie Zapata. He runs Search 7 Cities, a local team, and they're like a $30 million team, right? So we initially partnered as like really good friends, and we were going to drive together, both military backgrounds, right? And we did. Yeah. And so I was able to grow my business to about 100 units with me and 2 partners and an admin. Right. And then the big opportunity came when I partnered with Megan Morris and Cova Collective in 2020. And so we ended up taking 2 pretty large businesses. She was doing about 130 units between her, a person, and an admin. I was doing 98. So we merged, combined our leadership prowess, made it a win-win, right? Because it's not easy for 2 people to come together and really create something for the betterment of both parties or all parties, right? And so again, I found another person that I could bring value to and that thought they could bring and bring value to me, and now we have this thriving company. And so it really has been like, who are the people do you need to meet or put yourself in front of in order to get the value? And then it really comes down to, are you valuable? Like, what are you bringing to the table? Right. And oftentimes we think it's money and I need money. No, like, is it time? Is it sweat equity? Is it trust? Is it loyalty? Like, is it respect? Is it drive? Like, there's so many things that you can bring. You just got to figure out what does that person or people need, and then you need to show up.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and so, all right, so now we've got this business just absolutely crushing it. We brought 2 units together to make one big one. And so one of the other things that I respected when I first came here that really connected with me was we pretty much run our businesses the exact same as far as structure. Like, it literally, I was coming into my own meeting.
2 completely different industries.
Yes,
right?
Fitness, CrossFit background, real estate. And it's like literally...
Clearly he's more fit than me. This is food over here.
He's a Hall of Fame basketball player for the Navy, just a PS. So he's obviously got some fitness background too. But the no, it was just insane to see. I'm like, man, like this is the vibe. Like, this is what I want, the structure, because I want you to speak on this and you tell them what you do, but like, what is the cadence that you keep your team on? Like, how do you set their goals? Because to me, this is everything. We share this belief in that when you create a clear path for your team, like as the leader, you create a much stronger business and a much stronger unit to move forward. So could you please share like your structure and how you set that up?
Yeah, absolutely. So big thing that you said, like clarity provides confidence. I'm a big radical transparency conversationalist. I just made that up, but hopefully that makes sense. But like, I am not shy. I don't shy away from any conversation. And most of the times people want to shy away from commission or money and all of those things, but those are necessary conversations to see the big picture. But I do believe the military prepared me to have success in the real estate industry. We are very organized. I don't want to say regimented. For some reason, it has a negative connotation. We're very organized and systemized and have processes and procedures. And so, I mean, we have daily 8:30 huddles that last 15 minutes where we go over our deal flow. We also read a leadership book together, so everybody brings one thing they've learned from that chapter of reading. And that's a daily thing. On Tuesdays, we have team meetings. Now, team meetings, we're tracking at a very high level all of the production, appointments, contacts, everything necessary to track, right? And it's displayed from the team perspective, right? So big picture. And then monthly, I have agent one-on-ones, right? Which is very specific to, if you were an agent, your goals, your dreams, and your schedule, right? And so those are like non-negotiables. Those are real things. We are 1099 employees, so you can't be required to do anything, but it is expected, and we love the culture in our office. But from basically 8:30 to about 12, we're in the office, and basically 9 to 10 is prospecting and lead generation. 10 to 11 is database management and follow-up. 11 to 12 is like the admin required to update all the systems and report the numbers. You have to get the numbers reported if you're able to analyze the actual business, right? And then the rest of the day, they're doing their job, whatever they have to do, appointments, inspections. Maybe they're kosher and caught up on everything. They just have the rest of the day. So we try to master our morning. I know that's a cliche, but that's a real thing in our business. And then the rest of the day is yours as a professional business owner.
Yeah. All right, so that's absolutely fundamental, guys. So he's experienced it in his business. I've experienced it in mine, and something I come across, especially with business owners, even now being so outside of the fitness space, which this runs rampant with coaches and all that stuff, but having a team with real estate agents, I think I hear this more than anything about, I have a team, but they don't produce, or they don't work as hard as I think they should, or they're always complaining about how they're not doing what you think they should be doing. But if you listen to what he just said, the entire team meets every single morning at the same time to meet together. They're all reading the same book. They all have a structured schedule. It's only the morning, it's structured so they know exactly what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and there's numbers, tangible numbers to track to see if they are doing or not doing it. That's literally the only difference. If you just think of the culture that creates with your team and how powerful y'all are now, because now y'all are all one unit moving together instead of 10, 15 fragmented people doing their own thing, being their own bosses, living their own lives, and then you wanting them to produce and create something that you've given no structure to. And so that's what I really think is unique about Kaleo's group, and what was drawing me to it is the structure. I appreciate that, and you get into this space because you want to be your own boss and you want that freedom because you could be a 1099, which is cool. But the reality is most people aren't cut out to be a 1099. You left a job to do this because probably a vanity metric. You heard the money's easy, you get big commissions, it's cool. But what were you getting at your other job as far as structure and a leader that was forcing you to put stuff down and actually pursue that?
And I think where we go with that is I call it evidence over emotion, right? Now I think there's a little bit of one, as business owners and leaders, we have to be very clear on who our person avatar is. What are the traits of a person that you want in your world that can be successful? Because it's not going to be everybody, right? And unfortunately, sometimes I see people get caught up in they're a really good producer. Well, you can be a really good producer and not in alignment, with our culture, right? And therefore, are you going to sacrifice the culture for the production? Or can you generate a world where everybody's in alignment and producing? And so the one thing that I do like to brag about my team a little bit is that it's not me. Kaleo, I did 98 deals in a year, right? But Megan has consistently done over 60 units a year. Cheyenne Penn's another agent. She's going to close over 50 this year. Taylor Lennox Bagney's in her second year, 50 units this year. Kathleen Gamble's her third year, 40 units this year. And these are real metrics so that we can say, we do believe in our culture because we have multiple people winning. And so we believe that our systems, our processes, and metrics are sustainable for the right people, right? And so there's always a balance. There's unicorns, right, that can come in and be great. And they might not be a fit today because they're ready to go. But our challenge as leaders, as we continue to invite people into our world and grow it, is how do I make it so valuable, right? And that you grow so big that you have the ability to go start your own business. But how do I make the business so valuable that you don't want to leave, right? And so have I had my, ups and downs? We can call it that.
Yeah.
My very first partner, Richie Zapata, is doing his thing. They're a $30 million team. Yeah. I could use an extra $30 million in volume. My top agent for 2 years when he started with me is Alex Pilot. He just recently went to a brokerage called EXP, but they do about 15 to 20 mil. The year he left, he did 38 deals in 9 months. Yeah. I could use an extra 40 deals this year in a shifting market, right? And so I can be mad about that, or I can be excited at the opportunity to think about and say man, I think I am doing the right thing because the people that have entered my world and even the ones that have exited are all succeeding at a very high level, right? And so that makes me even more empowered to be man, I think we know what we're talking about, right? And so that's super important, and it's really the people aspect when it comes down to it.
God, I had a thought on that, but I think I think it's even harder to be happy for people that succeed when they leave you than it is to be upset. And so I think as far as a leadership trait, that's even more rare than actually creating somebody, because being able to let go and let somebody thrive, I know it sucks, but I can guarantee you that those people are probably, the amount of respect that they leave you with is going to be insane, man.
I wouldn't say that it was the cleanest or the easiest every time, right? But ego is the enemy. And at the end of the day, you never know. I try not to get too the crazy uncle at the barbecue, but the universe provides, right?
Yeah.
Whether they leave you today, they might find their way back, right? You never know. Or they're going to go discover something and have so much value in a different arena in life that you're like, they're going to be like, man, Kay was my guy. I'm going to bring it back to him, right? Yeah. Like Richie does some Airbnb and Turo stuff that I never did, but he shares that with me all the time, right? Alex is like a tech guy. Anything that comes out techie, he's always hitting me like, yo, you should try this. So like, I still get value out of those relationships, even if they're not tied to me, right? Absolutely. It's like, you know, not to say kids, but like, I want my son to love me forever, but I want him to be great. And so I tell the agents on the team, I want you to grow as big as you can. I want to try to figure out the problem on how do I keep people that are super high talented and productive in my world. That's the best problem to have. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely. And so when you're developing these, you know, all-stars, like what are the metrics that y'all track?
So we like to keep agents in our world in what we call their top 20%. So there's an 80-20 rule, but the top 20%. Real estate can definitely be very overwhelming in the sense that there's like a million things you can do. Yeah. But there are only a very specific amount of things which I call dollar productive activities, right? So it's not about the dollar, but I want to keep you in the profit margins that's going to write. So we believe that agents should be script practicing and role playing, right? We believe that they should be lead generating. They should be lead following up. They should negotiate contracts, right? They should go on appointments, right? The marketing piece, you shouldn't be worrying about that. Yeah. Because you're going to spend 10 hours in Canva. Yeah. Right? You know, the whatever, the new website that looks super cool, or your new headshot that you, or your business card that you want to create. We want to take all the extra stuff off of your plate, right? So that you can focus on the things that are going to maximize your producing activities. And really that's all foundational to each person's individual, like, monetary goal and life goal, right? They have a connection, right? And so we do business planning at a high level. We do what we call a GPS, which is goals, priorities, and strategies for the year. So you have one big goal annually. You have 3 priorities you're going to utilize to try to execute that goal. And under each priority, you're going to have 5 strategies that you're going to be utilizing throughout the year to accomplish that. And then we take a separate tool that we call the 411. It's kind of like the old phone number, the GPS, like it tells you where to go. But I track, very importantly, weekly numbers for every single month, right? And then we do it month over month. And so when we say, you mentioned like we track all the things at the highest level, I don't want to gloss over that. I think the most important thing an agent can do when they first start tracking everything. Yeah. Like you have to track your calls, your appointments set, your appointments met, the contracts you wrote, how many open houses, where your leads coming from. Like when you start tracking, then you can have a real understanding of your business. Otherwise, we're only going to be going off of feel. Well, I felt busy this month. Well, I had a really good month, but if you can't speak to dissecting your business, then you're never going to be able to take it to the next level. And that's why I think real estate agents, unfortunately, in history, have proven to have like a roller coaster experience, right? Because they're always working in the business or on the business, and they haven't figured out how to leverage it where they can have the best of both worlds for a positive upward trend. Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know how to say it, but like track everything. And if your viewers want any of our tracking metrics, it's not like I made it up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like I'll provide any reresources you'd like me to, but it's something we utilize at a high level and that you're going to have to commit to it. So the agents report daily their numbers for lead generation appointments. I review it weekly. I get a report from our virtual assistant, and then I go over everybody's personal numbers, one-on-ones, in depth every single month. And so we are never unaware of how the market is shifting or how it's affecting our agents. So we are very much in tune with everybody's goals, which allows us, I think, to make decisions faster, to make adjustments quicker, to adapt, right? And not wake up starting in January, wake up in June and be like, oh, well, that was a bad 6 months. Yeah. We're going to know week 2, week 3, when things are starting to trend. And so I think that we do that at a better level than most. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's huge as far as structure and clarity, because, you know, it's very easy, especially as a 1099. Like, you wake up and, like, there's a million things that you can do, especially speaking to a real estate agent. And, like, you can go a whole week and just, like, get so overwhelmed with all the different things, and you can be moving your hands, doing different stuff. But, like, at the end of the day, nothing's really come from it. And so, like, I think that's why having that daily huddle and then the weekly meetups, like, so they do team meetings every week as well. I don't think you mentioned that in the start, but they meet every single week as well. But having those 5 principles that they need to check on after a couple of weeks of waking up, knowing that those are the 5 things I need to do every single day, 6 months down the road, like that's going to be so ingrained. It's just like you become a highly efficient and productive person because all your things are built around those 5 things. Now you've taken all those industry trends but attached them to your 5 principles.
Yeah, and I think like you just mentioned, like the big conundrum that we face is like after a work day, whatever we call it, say you worked 5 hours. In those 5 hours, were you busy or were you productive? Right? And I always tell, my agents, even myself, I look at myself as a leader. If I were to take my soul out of my body and it followed me around for today and it watched me do work throughout the day, would that person be impressed or disappointed? Yeah. Right? And so we got to get real clear on what expectations, because I think a lot of people get into the industry for financial freedom and financial time flexibility. And I think what a little bit of the grit and grind in the beginning is you're sacrificing the financial freedom because you don't know when you're going to get a check. And you need to grind, so you're sacrificing some of that time flexibility until you get your systems, your processes in line, and then you can definitely take advantage of that for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't even know if we want to go down this road, man, but I feel like something I've definitely seen even on the outside looking in before I was in this space. I just feel, a lot of real estate agents, they do make a lot of money, but I feel like being in this field, there's a difference between making a lot of money and then building long-term wealth. And I don't think a lot of people utilize like actually setting those goals and realizing all you've done is trade your job. Like, are you still living paycheck to paycheck, house to house, sale to sale, or are you taking those big checks that you just traded your typical job for to then invest some of that into like a long-term? And that's where I think ultimately led me to this space, because I wanted to be on the inside. I want to be on the know. Like, if real estate's going to be the long-term play, I want to be on ground zero. And so I don't know if we want to go down that road.
Well, I think for us, I would speak for myself and my partner Megan, but like, we're not perfect, right? I'm not going to say that when I started making a lot of money, it actually made a lot. Like, I was spending a lot of money. Also wasn't set up correctly and paid a lot of taxes, right? And so then it's kind of a give and take. But what you're keying in on is, I really think that financial literacy, which then leads to wealth building, right, is a significant, it's a problem. We're just not educated enough to take advantage of the things that are out there, or we're so caught up in the hustler's mentality that we think that if I just grind and make more money, I'll be okay. And yet, the biggest, expense we'll ever have is taxes. So how do we protect the money we make? And then based on our lifestyle, right, how can we maximize the potential wealth building strategies, right? And so just in the last 2 years, I've learned, strategies such as the Augusta rule. That's something I need to research, right? I've learned about marketing towards your kids and being able to pay them a salary and then put this much in an IRA. I've learned about self-directed IRA accounts. I've learned about infinite banking and whole life policies that you can leverage as potential capital pieces towards your wealth building plan. And I think that all of that is important, but that becomes equally overwhelming in trying to learn. And I think that there are like steps that somebody needs to build out. Maybe we can build it together and trademark it, but like, if you're making between this and this is what you need to do. Set up your business entity appropriately, potentially be an escort, pay yourself for tax mitigation purposes, and we'll see that. Once you're making X amount, you should explore whole life insurance policies and the potential cash value and what that can mean. I mean, one of the biggest mistakes on wealth building I did, it wasn't a mistake, it was just my journey. My best friend was a Marine Corps officer. His dad was a 20-year pastor in the Marine Corps. When we graduated, I started a whole life insurance policy. When I turned 24, I started listening to Dave Ramsey. So all of the accumulation of that I took out, and I just bought term life insurance. And then as I grew on my real estate and wealth building journey, I reestablished the whole life policy when I was 35, right? And so it's kind of like, I've had the bumps and bruises, but I'm not gonna lie, it's been super exciting on like what I'm learning. And so when I talked about relationships, education, and execution, I mean, the second piece is like, I am excited to learn from people. Like, it doesn't matter. I believe that we all have different roles in the industry, but we're all leaders. That's where I think the misconception, I can learn from you something that can definitely affect my business, right? Similar that you've given me so much respect. I appreciate that. But I know there's something you have, right? So like when you start viewing people as assets instead of liabilities, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you'd be crazy. But on a P&L sheet, people are liabilities, right? Yeah. But if you can switch that and understand people are true assets, the right people will grow your world so significantly. It takes one person. Yeah. Just one person can truly change your life. And so I'm just on a constant journey. Like, I identify people and I'm like, I need to meet that person somehow. So some of it's natural leadership, to your question way, way long ago or earlier in this, but then some of it is intentional. Yeah. I do look for people that I think I respect and I want to get to know them. Yeah. And I make it a point to figure out a way to meet them.
Exactly. Yeah. Target it and then follow up. Because a lot of times, like, if you're new to their world, that first interaction is usually the hardest for you, but for them, you're a drop in the bucket and they don't even take you seriously until 3 or 4 times. You're like, all right, well, who the hell is this like bugging me? But like, you think most people, it's so hard to build up the courage. I'm guilty of this, like just to get enough balls to like reach out the first time. But then when you do that, then you feel some type of way when they don't hit you back. You're like, oh my God, like now I'm embarrassed. And it's just like, that first one doesn't even matter. The first one is the seed that you plant so that when you hit them up a day later, 3 days later, a week later, like you can say, hey, I didn't hear back from you. And like that one's the more powerful one because now they're like, oh shit, well now I'm embarrassed. Yeah. So anyway, but speak on that. So all the things that he was saying as far as like building wealth and talking about relationships, a mutual friend of ours, DeAndre Koch. Episode 36. If you want to know like how to leverage all that stuff, like that is what he does. He's a financial planner and he also invests in real estate. And so all the things that Kaleo just rattled off, I'm not going to ask him to go deep into that because he knows he executes himself, but like there is somebody out there that is a professional. His name is DeAndre Koch. So just reach out to him. Episode 36, if you need it, all the links and his contact information is there. But like that's how, and that'll help you do it. So with that being said, so if we're talking to somebody, what would be the thing that you tell them if they're trying to go, like they already have a good level of success doing what they're doing and they want to take it to the next level. Maybe they want to build a team, grow a team, or just scale up. What is the one thing that you would have them start with?
Man, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. I think that's the saying, right? Yeah. But like you need to go find the person that has started a team, that has grown a team, and that is willing to share their profit and loss statements with you to show that they're a truly profitable company. And willing to share their split structure and bring value to then learn how to do it, right? And so when I started to start a team, I literally reached out to 17 mega teams across the country. Keller Williams has an expansion network, so I was able to reach out to certain people. I asked for team agreements. I asked for operations manuals, right? And I've like pulled all of them together. I picked the parts that I thought that I would fit or that could match with me, right? What I've learned is like, there's a million ways to skin a cat. What we're going to find is there's no like magic pill in CrossFit or fitness. You have to show up and work out consistently X amount of days a week and get better little by little, right? And what I found is every team, regardless of brokerage, it doesn't matter. They do it differently. Yeah. So you're going to get frustrated if you think that you're going to go out there and somebody's going to give you the magic sauce. Yeah. No, what you're going to do is you're going to take the information from proven talent and operational businesses that are profitable, and then you're going to personalize it, right? And it takes some gumption, like you said, to get yourself out there. Like I don't know if you're using this as a strategy, it is very much a great strategy to do a podcast to interview talented people to then build a relationship to potentially learn the most, right? And so like, I use this as a joke. I think Gary Keller is very talented. Yeah. He runs Keller's, right? But I also am of the mindset he should be the smartest guy in the room. He gets to coach the top agents all across the world. So when he coaches them, he's learning about all of their businesses. Well, shit, if I had access to all the top producers in the world, I think I'd be better off too. Yeah. And so I'm just doing it from my angle where I have to bring value to people that are doing more. And I got to figure out a way to be valuable to them in some capacity, whether it's maybe connecting with one of their agents. One of my mentors is Daniel Dixon out of Denver, Colorado. Funny story was I was slated to do a speaking engagement in Charleston. I had just came back from an out-of-town trip, so I told my wife I wasn't going to do it. I had missed Daniel in a Denver convention, right? So I didn't get to see him. He ends up being a speaker in Charleston. So I called them back and I said, I need to meet this guy. Can I get back on the roster?
Yeah.
So I intentionally did that. My wife was like, I thought you weren't going. I'm like, babe, I'm going to fly in the morning. I'm going to fly back at night. And I told her, I said, my goal is to be this guy's best friend. Mm-hmm. And she thought I was joking. I was joking. So today, Daniel Dixon is a very close friend of mine. We went to Mexico together. We've done wealth building seminars. Like, I've learned a lot from him. But, like, I made it a fact to get there. And truth be told, his ass didn't even pay attention to me. Kind of like you said. Like, hey, man, I'm Clay. He's like, okay, you're on the path. Cool.
Yeah.
Right? Now, this isn't always great, but his wife, kids, and his sister were there. So before we got on, I'm like, oh, I'm a great family man. Met his wife, met his sister, kids, found out who his director of operations was, and I met with his director of ops 3 times to learn. Like, hey, I just want to learn. You guys are doing good things, until I asked for the re-meeting with Daniel. And then once we connected, I mean, we've been awesome ever since, but like, it took time to find somebody doing it at that level, and now I'm in some other circles that I otherwise wouldn't have been unless I met them. And so, I mean, I always say, any room you walk in, you need to meet somebody, or somebody needs to meet you. Never forget that. And so, any event, any training, any educational resource, like, there's always somebody there you need to meet, and I always make sure that there's one number I'm gonna get and see what that relationship value could be, right? And so I'm big on that.
Yeah. And so that's awesome as far as like the structure and like the strategy there. And to speak, so I'm an extremely large introvert. Like getting into groups and stuff. I mean, this is something I shared with him day one. Like, it terrifies me, but like, you know, you do it more and more, and obviously you get more comfortable with it. But I feel me and Kaleo have a relationship, so like this was never even weird. But to speak on that to like the other introverts in the world, I'm not the one that's going to go to an event and hand out, 100 business cards, try to meet as many people and small talk. Fuck that. No, but I will come in and I will laser focus one target. So that one guy he went back on that roster for to go meet, like, that's the way I like to do it, because then I feel you create a much stronger bond and relationship with that one single person, but it gives you focus. And to me, that focus is what will outweigh the nervousness that I do feel. And so, I don't think that gets brought up enough as far as, because especially getting in this world, like, I came from fitness space and everyone was like, oh, you need a network. But then getting into real estate, like, I don't think there's a bigger business that you have to network. Like, it's 100% you have to network. So I'm like, shit, I don't know how I'm doing this. But like, it's this, like, you find one person and then you target, and then it makes it a little easier.
And then I think the key is, I mean, you have your significant others in real estate, right? I am a big advocate of like finding a person to do the things with you.
Yes.
Because one, leadership is lonely. Real estate can be lonely, but and we don't need to take from each other to then partner. Yeah. Like, I don't need your business to be a part of my business. We can just partner in life. Like, go find somebody that's equally as driven as you, or that really wants it as much as you, and then go do the things together, because then some of that anxiousness or anxiety goes away, right? And so that's one of the things I respected about my first partnership was with Richie. Like, we didn't take each other's businesses. We said, hey, we're both driven. We're both highly motivated. I respect you, respect me. Let's grow, right? And that's what we did. And there's some times where, like, he met somebody that I probably wouldn't talk to, or I met somebody that I wouldn't talk to. And like, even now with Megan and I, when we go to events, I might be like, hey, you probably got to take this one, but we need to meet that person, right? And then it'd be like, hey, did you see that speaker? And I'll be like, oh, I got this one. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, it makes it easier to then grow when you have like really good people next to you. And so I think I would consider you lucky to have that person already for you guys to do that. But even then, if you wanted a bro, you know what I'm saying? Like, go find the person that is where you're at and wants to grow with you, and then do it together. And I'm telling you, those experiences will be priceless, man.
To confirm that, the only reason I know Kaleo is because of my fiance, Shayna. Literally, I was like, look, I'm trying to find, like, this is what I want. Because she's seen me in the gym game, and so she knew kind of how I ran business and the way I wanted things done and who I was looking for as far as, like, a team leader. And she was like, Kaleo. I'm like, shit. And that's literally how I met this man. And so I do better when I'm in a group. I'd rather be alone, because then I feel more approachable, because I'm the vulnerable one. And so when I'm out at events, I do like to go alone. It is more nerve-wracking, but Shayna, or having somebody there, she is my Rolodex. If I need anybody or a name, like that is her asset. She is a walking phone book, and she knows anyone and everyone and what they do, what they want. It's insane. And so I'm like, look, I need some, like, who do I talk to for this? That's it. And then I'll go and I'll reach out by myself. But like, yes, having that partner or that partnership with somebody who has different strengths. She's the one that'll talk to 100 people in a room. I'm the one that'll always focus on the one we need to get done that day. And so, yes, there is some merit there. But so getting into the end of this, Kaleo, for our expert followers, they're building a business. They want to get this thing going in 2023, really take it to the next level. What would be, if it's going to be the mentor thing, I might be setting you up for this, but yeah, for 2023, what would be the biggest thing they need to accomplish?
It's coaching. It's mentorship. You already knew it when you said it. I'm a big advocate. I always say this. You know what you know.
Yeah.
You know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Yeah. Right? And so, like, there's somebody out there that's doing coaching or mentoring that you will jive with, right? There's some great coaching programs, so not so great ones, but you got to, like, I have a coach for my residential resale business for Cova Collective Realty. Mm-hmm. I have a coach, just a coach on running a brokerage in a market center, legitimately. $2,000 a month over here. So I'm paying real money for these coaches. $1,000 over here. And then I have a wealth building coach personally that I have outside of those two that are helping me with my finances. And I go to investment seminars in order to take advantage of education and strategies for the personal wealth building side. So I'm a big advocate of coaching. Now it's a shifting market. We talk about cutting expenses, but like, what are they doing to bring so much value to you that expense is worth it, right? So not all coaches are the same, but you need to find that person or that mentor that's grown a team. I may have grown a couple. I have multiple references, right? There are other people in the area that are also very reputable, right? But you need to find those people and find out who do you jive with or connect with the most. But everything that's ever been created has been done before.
Yeah.
So you can try to create it from scratch and feel good about it, or go find the people that are going to fast track your success. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so people have always said, "Kay, it's only been 5 years, you've done so much." And yet I would have never done it on my own. Right. There are so many people to credit for my journey that I'm still on. Right? Yeah. And so that's the thing. Coaching and mentoring. Like, find the coaching program, the coaching person that's doing it at the highest level, and to get after it.
So if you want to check your first box and find your first mentor, then reach out to Agent K, Kaleo. And I think, he's got a wealth of knowledge. I know you're super busy, but even he can refer you to anybody else, like, once y'all get in a conversation. And if they do want to reach out to you, Kaleo, how could anybody find you?
My name is Kaleo Kina. It's easily Googleable because there's not that very many. And so that will give you tons of pages that has contact information. But on IG, it's Agent K Realtor, right? So I have a personal IG. I don't have a business one. So it's all my stuff. You can contact me on there. You can find me on Facebook, Kaleo Kina. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, DM me, shoot me a text, shoot me a call. You can email me at agentk@covacollectiverealty.com. And so I gave you all the ways. If you can't get a hold of me at that, hit up Austin. We'll be good.
Yeah, and I'll set it up. Yeah. Perfect. So, and if you want to get in contact with me, or if you want to, if you're trying to connect with somebody in a past episode, or you're just looking for another mentor, like, hit me up, and if I can't help you, I'll connect you with somebody. All my contacts are on austinmitchell.biz, or if you want to go to Instagram, it's I am Austin Mitchell, at I am Austin Mitchell. So anyway, I really appreciate your time, Kaleo. This has been a pleasure, brother, and I hope we get to do more stuff in the future.
It has, man. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to checking out some more episodes.
Absolutely. All right, later.